this new church for a year, and they have a number of birds around as part of their iconography. And it's making me think about power and vulnerability and the symbols that we associate with them. So I'm going to take you to 3 birds in the Bible, also represented in my church. So this is an eagle, right? It's made of solid brass, and it is 6,000 Canadian dollars. So the most common verse that we associate with eagles is from Isaiah chapter 40, and it says, "Those who wait upon the Lord will mount up on wings like an eagle," right? What if I tell you that the word used in the English Bible for eagle is the only translation that distinguishes eagle from a vulture? So in other vernacular languages, the word for eagle and vulture used in the Bible are the same word. And so the claim that this book, which I love this book, it's called Consider the Birds, makes is that most likely this verse, when you mount up on wings like eagle, is actually referring to the turkey vulture. We as a people and we as countries around the world have associated, wait upon the Lord, rise upon wings like an eagle. And so somehow this image is godly, it's holy. And so when we put this image on political banners, on flags, as symbols of power, we almost connect God with political power. And we sanction policies because of these symbols that we associate with God. When we think of eagles, we think of prey that is caught immediately and it seizes and it controls. But most often our faith is like the vulture, right? It circles, it waits, it grows, it wobbles, and then we make our way. Okay, now let me take you to the baptistry. And we have another really common image, the dove. Bold claim, doves might actually be pigeons. The dove descended upon Jesus on his baptism may have been the pigeon. And this I love. And the author of the book makes this point that the bird, the pigeon, the dove actually does have a deep characteristic of the Holy Spirit, that the Holy Spirit is relentless. You know how many doves there are or pigeons there are in mountainscapes? Very few. Because pigeons like to be around people. And for so many years we used them as one of our main modes of communication, and then we just kind of abandoned them. And I think it's one of the greatest griefs and sadnesses in modern history, how we have treated our pigeons. Anyway, the pigeon is like the Holy Spirit in that the pigeon keeps coming around humans, keeps trying to make its way in our midst, to be loved by us, to be around us just because it likes people. This is the altar. And this is the first and only altar where I have seen the pelican. There's only one bird that Jesus compares himself to. You know what it is? The hen. I will gather the people under my wings like a brooding hen, Jesus says. But the pelican has become a symbol of Jesus in the church. Look closely. We have the bird. The bird is piercing itself, and the blood is feeding the chicks. Okay, that's the image. So the pelican is actually mentioned in the Bible only once, and it is in Leviticus as an abomination, and yet it sits on the high altar. The idea is that the pelican pierces itself to feed the young in times of starvation or drought, which, by the way, isn't actually true. The ancient bird viewers, I think, were mistaking the bird's reddish belly as blood feeding the young. I think this is a really good time to question the notion of sacrifice, because equating this with Jesus as the ultimate sacrifice, I think it's a rhetoric that serves the empire. How else will you get armies to rise up, to fight in wars, and work in factories if it wasn't for this notion of sacrifice yourself for the good of the nation, sacrifice yourself for the greater calling, like Jesus? Except Jesus' sacrifice was a result of a political regime that didn't like how much he cared about people. It wasn't for power. It wasn't for glory. So here are the birds. Jesus tells us, consider the birds. And so I invite you, consider the birds in your church.